That's the most honest answer. That's like in trouble, but I'm like, we don't want to like this.
The landscape here, for instance,
How long is that? The time you guys. Let me get the.
you say I'm
Maybe hang out.
Good evening, everybody. Today is Wednesday, January 24th. It is 6:00 p.m. And you are at the monthly Board of Directors meeting for the Celebration Residential Owners Association. So welcome, everybody. Okay, so let's get started. Was the meeting properly noticed? Or I'm sorry, Jeff.
Yes, it was.
And we do have a quorum. We have 5 of us here, and then Mr. David is online. So we do have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We can call the meeting to order at 6:02. Right, I have only one person in the audience who wants to speak, and that would be Mr. Eric Opegard.
Good evening, everyone. Eric Opegard, 1126 Mosaic Drive. I have 2 comments on the action items for this evening. One is related to the playground RFP that I saw on there. Question, originally when we had the special meeting at the playground, I know there was going to be a option for community and resident input on that. I didn't know if that was still being considered for the playground equipment that was going to be there and be proposed. And also on that, I did not see any provisions within the RFP or within the agreement for any sort of acceptance or of prior payment, or excuse me, a final payment based off of safety inspection to be done for completion of the equipment, because I know that was one of the things that we had discussed as well with it. The second question that I had too, still relating to the action items for tonight, was on the landscaping replacement for the amphitheater park and the different areas that were damaged by the vandalism. Question that I had was that In one of the warranties, it states that the turf is warranted for a year. That was within the exquisite bid for that. And I wanted to make sure that was actually the case, because typically landscapers will not warranty turf for that period. So if that's the case, then I think that that's a weighing factor in making a decision on if we're going to move forward with that. But then also just clarifying to make sure that that's not just the landscape plantings, but that it can include the turf grass area. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Cindy, there is one person online.
Before you do that, anybody else in the audience that maybe came and didn't know they had to check a box to speak?
Well, did we want to also tell the audience that we have the captain?
Well, we will.
Well, that was supposed to take place during all the comments.
Well, when I'm done.
No, but just in case anybody wants to.
Okay.
Speak for
Well, hang on,
the
let's see what the person online has to say. First online.
It's Andrew Dugan.
Hi, good afternoon,
Hey,
Andrew DeGanzik. Yeah, I guess two things kind of revolving around Vigilant and the playgrounds. First, grant managers appreciate you willing to reimburse CROA for additional costs of services being needed. So definitely see that partnership with the board and that olive branch being provided. Regarding the bid, I guess, or the RFP, the concern I saw was on page 59 that there was a multiplier of 1.2 applied to all expenses. 20% premium seems a little excessive, and I would prefer to have that out entirely and Vigilant understand how they expense appropriately rather than having a cushion in there to cost the homeowners more money. And then the other thing on the RFP, I'd hate to have something similar happen to East Village where all kinds of trees are taken out. I think there's plenty of good shade structures from the trees that are natural in that area, and that there should be no harm or damage to those trees in those areas, and whatever design of that playground and turf goes in, that there is no collateral damage from them building those structures and putting in the turf that would hurt the natural trees and an area there. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
Can we inventory the questions that the two residents had just as we get into that discussion with the RFP? Okay.
Okay. So I thought we were going to do this during committees. No, we're going to do it now. So we have with us today the newly appointed captain for our section of the county, Kevin
Counts.
Is with us tonight. If you're aware, we had a security and safety meeting a couple weeks ago. We did not have someone from the sheriff's office there. We do have someone tonight. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to ask a question concerning safety in our town, you may. Go ahead. Come on back up, Mr. Eric Opegard.
Sorry, I thought we were
And
doing
just to
this.
let you know, we're going to take the questions and then we're going to answer, he's going to answer them all together.
Perfect. Okay.
Full
So
swap.
no pressure now. Two questions, and you may or may not have the answer. First off, congratulations on the appointment. I'm sorry that you get to deal with us now with that appointment. One of the previous administrations within the sheriff's office had talked about a substation located on this area. I know they had previously identified the old Publix location off of 192. Didn't know if there was anything else that was still being explored there, because I know that one of the pieces of feedback that we've heard in the past is if there is someone that necessarily either has to go to holding during that period, it can be a very long transport time to get them back down to the sheriff's office if another vehicle is not able, and they have to pull someone out of the zone to be able to do that. So wondering if there's any either mitigation with that, or if there is any more, progress on a substation in this area. The second question is if there's any, with the additional construction that's going on this end of West 192 and all the different amenities and resorts and different things that are going in, if there is going to be an increased level of sheriff services that's either going to be provided just based off of the tax revenue dollars for the area, or if it's going to be provided as a cost basis to either some of the larger resorts in the area, if they're going to supplement those services as well, since they're obviously taking up some of the sheriff services at those times.
Got all that?
Get all that? She's still writing.
It's done.
Come on up, Sandy.
Thank you. I'm Sandy Shaleski at 959 Starling. I don't know if it's a sheriff question, and I don't know who would fix the issue, but there's a serious safety issue on the sidewalk across from Town Hall, going from Town Hall to Stetson Building. There's a bridge with a railing, that's fine, but at both ends of the bridge, there's no railing and a very steep drop off, and we've seen kids go over it on their bicycle. So I think an extra railing along there would be very wise. I don't know who should be doing it, but maybe if the sheriff looks at it and says, oh, whoops, maybe that'll help get it done. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, board,
Oh, can I interrupt you?
sure.
I'm sorry, I will anyway.
I know. Go ahead.
So we had our security and safety meeting a few weeks ago, and Mr. Hudspeth tasked us with some things at the meeting, and we said that we would do this. We're working on getting our executive session together with the technology committee, and also he said have a meeting with the sheriff. So I requested and kind of like stamped my feet to make sure the captain was here, the new captain, welcome celebration, and answer questions that the audience, that the residents have, because we had a lot of questions at our meeting that nobody can answer because there wasn't, as they called it, the source wasn't here. Now we have the source. So really, if anybody has any questions, now's the time to get a straight answer from the source. Diana? Book slow, please.
Diana Vasello, 1110 CROA Place. What's the status of the volunteer program? Are you recruiting more volunteers for the community patrol? And is that going to continue? Is that something that you're going to focus on? And what hours do you think that you need covered for those positions here now?
Thanks, Diana.
Julie, don't you think it'd be easier to answer the questions if they ask?
I don't know how many people are going to ask questions. That's what you want.
Well,
I thought we were gonna, I put it out there for the community to come, and this is the opportunity. I thought we were gonna have a crowded room because so many people are complaining that we don't have sheriff presidents in our community, deputy presidents, we don't have anything, so he can answer them
well,
now.
I'm just thinking.
You have a question, Bill?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
The question is, not knowing how communications work in the sheriff's department, do you have a background on our issues and our concerns, and or do we need to spend time bringing you up to speed? That would be my question.
Question two. Thanks for coming here, by the way. Are there any, I guess, maybe off-the-shelf education programs or campaigns that we can use from you to plug into our larger communications initiatives, or things that, you know, that you sponsor, and things that we can kind of plug and play to really promote safety and security?
Well, we'll answer from your question back. How's that? Because that was a lot to write.
Sure.
Okay. Did you hear Charles?
You have to remind me because I'm going to introduce myself first.
Okay.
I would like to introduce myself. My name is Kevin Calvis. I'm the new captain on the West Command. I actually in charge of the West Side, which is 192 all the way almost to Four Corners, as you know. I also have Point Siena area. So I got appointed to this new position at the beginning of this month. The last 13 years, I've been in narcotics and homicide. I've also been in the SWAT team for 9 years. So I could tell you that I have a lot of experience in investigations, narcotics, and crime trends and all that, and surveillance. I have a lot of experience on that. However, with the and I say this because throughout my investigative career in narcotics, with narcotics, I could tell you that I've never been here. We've never since I've been there, we've never arrested anybody that is a dealer at a celebration, or we've never bought from someone in celebration. Now, I could tell you that obviously with being in homicide for a few years, I did get a few calls here and there for the area of celebration, which, you know, some of them are, you know, unattended death, homicide or suicides. But those are crimes that actually happen, that we have to react. It is not something that is proactive, and we never really got to, as far as I've been there in our narcotics and investigation, we never really had to come over here and do anything proactively because there's no drug dealers here. There's nobody committing crimes. It's all external. I can tell you that they're coming from the outside in if there's any crimes being committed here. I know other questions, and I'm sorry, what was the last question?
Yeah, I guess. So I guess just kind of off the shelf, like educational campaigns, things that maybe you have that are sponsored through the sheriff's office that we can plug into like our newsletters and our campaigns just for resident awareness and how.
Yes. So to be honest with you, I was very confused how many HOAs are involved here in the celebration.
There's a
I didn't- when Jeff texted me and said, "Hey, you coming to a meeting?" I said, "Yeah, it's Tuesday, right?" Because I was also attending the meeting yesterday. You know, no, it's different. It's different meeting. I'm like, well, okay, well, I'm getting to know that. So I'm getting to know that there's different associations here that are involved, also with details. As far as that, you know, campaigns and anything like that, or programs that the sheriff's office provides. I have a good relationship with the community service team that we have in Osceola County, and obviously I wouldn't have the answer for it right now as far as what they're able to provide for specifically for this community, but it would be definitely one of the things that will come up this week in my meeting over at the main office, and I'll find out what are some of the things that we can provide, because the community service team and the outreach program, you know, obviously was designed by the sheriff to come up with different programs for juveniles, adults, you know, and for different communities. So I'll get back with you on that topic. Thank you.
So I think he answered your question, Bill, as far as background on Celebration, correct?
So my background Celebration has always been external. Now I've responded here as a SWAT team member and as a homicide detective. That's been years ago. But other than that, it's never been anything. We've never done a takedown on a drug dealer or a violent person here in Celebration. It's never been any of that here. So the majority of it is more external.
And then,
Could you give a quick thumbnail on what, I think the community concerns are
Sure, I think,
in our recent concerns?
so, I mean, as you alluded to, we have a lot of people that come in from off of 192 into Celebration because a lot of residents in Celebration, this is really a bubble and don't always think about crime coming into Celebration. So we have a lot of car break-ins, people are walking up and down Celebration Avenue, just trying car doors to see if anything's unlocked. Amazon packages getting stolen. We have some vandalism in the downtown area from some of the probably teens, and then we had some recent vandalism here on site with a large truck driving through some of our large sought areas, causing a significant amount of damage. So, I mean, those are kind of we've had a couple of break-ins as well, I think.
have you spoken to a detective yet about what happened?
Yes, they're investigating, but they didn't have any major updates for us.
One of the questions was the status of the volunteer program.
So, and again, volunteer program is also under community service. I know we just recently had, obviously we have a lot of vacancy in the sheriff's office due to, either people leaving the agency or people not wanting to get into law enforcement or anything connected to law enforcement. It's been very hard to maintain and retain people. And our recruiting is working hard to recruit and employ people that actually want to work for the sheriff's office. So the volunteer is something that I have to get again with the community service and ask them what the status of that is. And obviously that'll be something that I have to come back to you on that. So,
Do you know how at least someone could go about applying if they wanted to be?
so everything's applied online.
Oh,
Yeah, you could apply for any position in the sheriff's office online.
that's good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Sandy's question to what she's saying, I'm sure it doesn't relate to the sheriff. But I hear,
microphone? Here.
sorry. So Sandy's question, I probably doesn't pertain to the sheriff with the sides of the bridges, but I hear you, Sandy, because when you walk there, since I moved in 2014, it just looks like it's just erosion. It's just all disappearing, the property on the sides of the sidewalk, and it's a nice steep drop. So
I don't
I don't
know.
know who we talked to about
I
that.
don't know off the top of my head. I think it's CDD, but if it's not them, it's the county, but I have it up as a follow-up thing for tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And then the question that Eric asked, first question, which you're right, they talked about that many years ago, the substation at the old Publix. Is that the one behind Logan's? Nothing's ever come of that there was going to be a substation and.
So that's still, the works is still in progress. Last update we had was that they will need to tear down the whole building and rebuild it from.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. That's the last update we have on that. So it's probably still going to take some time for that.
Okay, and then his second question, with all the additional construction on 192, is there going to be an increase of sheriff services? And are we funding that, Eric, or is everybody else funding it also?
Mainly just if you're gonna get the support that you need for this area.
So, obviously the county is growing, and especially on this side of the county, it's even what you can see with traffic, it's really bad. So as the county grows and the population grows, the need for more deputies, and the sheriff's office knows that, and we budget for more deputies. The problem is getting those people to apply to the sheriff's office, and that's why they've come up with a recruiting unit to travel all across the state to recruit. So that's what they're working on. We're working on retention, obviously. There's a lot of people that leave either for more money or more benefits. Obviously, it's very hard. Sometimes it's very hard to compete with other counties like Orange County or OPD. But the main focus for this year, and actually last year as well, was retention. So as long as we keep retention and we keep recruiting, I think our sheriff's officers and deputies that are serving the community here on this side will grow. So in this state. So
I have a question for you, because there's always a lot of talk in the community about see something, say something. No, I just want to let everybody know. So do I call the non-emergency number? Do I call the emergency number? Do I call 911? No, don't worry about it. I'm just informing everybody. So what's the importance of making sure that people call the sheriff?
Oh,
if they see something. It could be
very
the smallest thing.
Yes, it's very important to call. Look, I'll give you an example. It just happened over the weekend where I came out. We had a homicide in Poinciana over the weekend on Saturday, and while the deputies are responding to this incident, a witness calls in and says, "Hey, we just heard gunshots and in the area, and we saw a black Cadillac at a high rate of speed leaving the area immediately." So deputies are already trained to start looking for this car on their way to the scene, right? Well, the car's already gone. So what we do is we get into the camera systems that we have, which is fuses, which we're actually trying to get more cameras here for celebration. So they see this car, and through LPRs, they see that the car was in the area of Parr Settlement and 192. So a star unit gets up, and they locate this car heading into another community by Parr Settlement. They see the car getting out in a pond, start throwing handguns. They go to a house. We get everybody out. There's another victim in the house with a gunshot wound to the leg. Okay. So I could tell you by by being a homicide detective, I can tell you that that's the best case scenario. That it never happens like that. It is very important for you to call right away. If a witness didn't call us right away, we'll still be working this homicide, and we wouldn't have closure. Victims and families wouldn't have closure. So, very important. That the best scenario I could give you for the importance of calling 911 immediately.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight.
I think, gentlemen.
Yeah, I have one too. Go ahead, Gary.
Thank you. Gary Utsmith, 1471 Resolute Street. To follow up with what Eric asked, you were at the CDD meeting last night.
Yes, sir.
It's my understanding that they're considering offering the sheriff's department the second floor has to be reconfigured. Did they talk about that last
Yes,
night
sir.
as a
Yeah.
substation?
Yes. Well, so I can tell you that we're looking into different areas. And obviously Celebration is not the only area that they're offering a space for like a substation. It will be more like an office instead of a substation because it's not equipped or it's not big enough for a substation. But that's something that we're looking into right now. I don't make the final decision on that. Obviously the sheriff does. But that's something that we could obviously look into and see what the outcome is going to be. I can't promise you anything if there's going to be, because I understand every community wants presence, right? That's important. But I don't make that decision. So, but I could follow up with that and see what's going to happen. I know there's been talks. There's been talks before I came here about it. And so they've been talking about it for a while. I don't know if that's going to come into fruition.
So my question, New Year's weekend, we had the damage with the truck.
Okay.
Have you noticed an uptick in vandalism lately in general?
Yeah,
You haven't been on
so
the
I haven't been on this side long enough to know the increase or the decrease, or I'm still looking at all the stats. Still getting to know the community on this side. Obviously, you know, Celebration is not the only one I'm meeting up with. I'm just getting to know. There's a lot of other communities that I'm actually meeting up with. What I can tell you is this. I can tell you that I'm a very hands-on guy. I'm very involved. You're going to see a lot of me. And just like I told Greg yesterday as well, I know there's complaints about scooters and speeders and all that. Again, I don't know what happened in the past, but I can tell you that I already got with my community, with my traffic unit and other resources like SRO today. And we're coming out with a plan to educate, especially the juveniles in this community, the importance of slowing it down, the danger that it causes, or it can cause for drivers or even kids. So I'm working on that right now, and I can tell you that it's going to have a huge.
kind of like a rules of the road thing for.
Yeah, more like an educational type of thing. Now, I'm gonna try to do my best to give you obviously focus here for a few days. Now, obviously, because of the volume of calls that we have on this side and throughout the county, obviously, it will be hard for me to give you a week, 2 weeks, but I could do it randomly, like a day here this week, and then the next week we can do it constantly. So I'm obviously working on that right now, and we're about to do this very soon.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else on the board or in the audience? Mr. Overgaard. Boy, you're just getting your face in front of that camera, aren't you, buddy?
Yeah, Eric Overgaard, 126 Mosaic. I think the biggest thing, and this is more of a comment, is let us know how we can help you. I mean, the sheriff is an elected position. We understand that. And so we have, fortunately some folks that can be vocal in areas, or if there are areas that we do need support in, and we do need that we're hearing there's issues and that you might need another voice. So I know sometimes that can't be voiced at a public meeting, but there's different people here that are sitting around you that I think that could help get messages out if needed. So definitely use those resources too.
Which reminds me, years ago, there used to, I was talking about this at the security meeting, be something, I'm sure probably too young, called Neighborhood Watch. Is that a thing anymore? Do you have any communities that kind of are proponents of that?
We do. There's other, obviously, other communities and subdivisions that do that. The problem that they come across is a lot of people don't want to get involved because, like, some of you guys are brave, and I know you guys are gonna come up to a car or in the middle of the night and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" But is it the right thing to do? Is it a safe thing to do? It was really not. And I think, like, going back to what we were talking about, if you see it, the best community watch that we could have is call us immediately. Call us, and communicate with each other. And obviously, communicate everything that you see that you think might be as minimal as you may think it may be. It might help us.
So it's never a bother if somebody calls the non-emergency number to say, hey, I happen to be sitting on my porch and I see the same, it's, 10 o'clock at night and I see the same car going round and around and around or whatever.
It's not a bother. Now, obviously there's certain priorities, not calls, obviously, because a lot of times, especially on this side of the county, you have a lot of priorities that like in progress calls, like somebody's actively going and burglarizing a house. Obviously that takes priority. But well, you call us, we will be there.
And for future reference.
Yes, sir.
Quick question, are you guys able to use facial recognition?
We are.
Okay, good.
We are. And I know we were talking about, and that's something that I'm getting my Intel unit as well, about connecting the cameras here with through our fuses as well. So we're working on that also. So.
Anybody else? Board?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. And I appreciate Jeff inviting me here and having me here. Again, I'm gonna do the best I can to help you guys, obviously. And also in return, I would like you guys to help us as well, like call us. Again, I'm all over the place right now. So I gotta go to Poinciana. I gotta talk to one of my guys. It's not another meeting. I gotta talk to one of my guys, some of my guys from my platoon down there. So, and obviously I gotta meet with the other community leaders that I have to go and talk to as well and introduce myself. But be patient. But I can tell you that I'll do my best to fix the problems that we have and the issues and the concerns that we have here. Okay.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Cindy.
Understood where you wanted that. So now we are on adopting the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Discuss.
I just want to see if we can have a discussion of email, the topic of email protocols at the end.
Email?
Email,
Oh, for who? For what?
program managers.
So where do you want that?
Could be
Good part of management update? Is it that kind of a related thing or what?
sure, yeah, if you go there. It could be part of
You
that.
want it where E is, where security is, because we just discussed.
Anywhere is fine.
Want to take security off? We discussed the deputy.
It's still on there, just saying you could put email protocol right underneath it.
Email protocol is F.
Oh,
One thing, I don't think we're gonna have time, but it's a wish list. Do we need to talk about the annual meeting?
that's management's thing.
So we don't have to do any, okay, all right.
Well, they'll let you know.
We'll send you a draft of the presentation and then you guys will have input. And
So there's nothing publicly we need to do right now. Okay.
Was it 29th? February 29th? Yes. So they have to both close. All right, so anybody else want to move anything Anything? Good? Okay, so we have a motion from Jared and a second from Charlotte to adopt the agenda with the addition of emails. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
You're opposed, David?
No, you said.
Oh, no, say so.
No, I said,
It's-
I said aye.
Okay, so we're all good. Alrighty, approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Guys want to fight over it?
Jared.
I have a motion from Charles, a second from Jared. Are we approving both or one?
I think we can do both.
Yeah.
I'll amend my motion to approve both minutes.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
I'm waiting now for the delay. Okay, financials are on here, but we don't have any.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I have a question for Jennifer. I'd like to ask, just to educate the community. It was said that last year, the 2023, we were over $250,000 in a deficit due to landscaping and pool chemicals. Can you clarify that, please?
The majority of that deficit was the 195,000 paid to.
195?
195 to serve CROA at the beginning of the year. Did you not hear me?
Well, because he's not going to say anything.
Yeah, so most of that deficit was for that reason. Yes, the pool chemicals were high. Yes, landscaping was high, but there were some costs in other areas. December is not finished yet. Hopefully it will be finished by next week in time for the finance committee to have to review it before their meeting in the beginning of February, and then you'll have it after that. But December overall is looking pretty good. So I think we'll end up with the year better than a 250,000 deficit.
I'll also note the other reason for part of the overage was we did not anticipate in the 2023 budget process on taking over the Island Village Amenity Center and all the open green spaces and playground out there. So those were unanticipated expenditures.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything? Anybody else on financials questions? Okay. Moving on. Committee partner updates. I'll start. We had our monthly covenants meeting. Nothing same old there. But I do want to ask. There was a workshop. There was a workshop early in the month where we were looking at design guide, or the ARC committee was looking at design guidelines. They discussed it. They suggested some changes. They were supposed to be put in, correct format. They were supposed to be sent to the covenants committee. I don't think the covenants committee has gotten it yet. Do we know where it is in the workflow?
After that meeting, Rosie redrafted everything that they discussed and sent it to the committee for their commentary. I don't think she's gotten full commentary back yet.
Okay.
I checked with her earlier this week.
Is there any reason why you can't send it to the covenants committee while the ARC committee is looking at it, or would it make more sense to let them look at it a second time, or what do you think?
Either way you would like.
Well, I think that what do you guys think? I think to speed up the process, it couldn't hurt to have the covenants committee look at it as well. If they have any questions at this point, maybe some additions, or what do you think?
I think so.
Yeah. So could you make that happen? Okay. I think we'll be looking at the same time, and then we'll figure out how to come together on that. That would be wonderful. Thank you. Your turn, Bill.
Following up on the ARC thing, we had an ARC meeting Monday. We had an ARC meeting on Monday. We looked at 13 structural issues, approved most of them. The one thing that was not an ARC thing was an opinion. We had a request from the Daughters of the American Revolution to put a plaque in Founders Park, and they had three choices as to how it would be mounted, and there are two choices as to where it could be going. The committee's going to discuss it. I don't think anybody was thinking about it unfavorably. but there was no vote or anything on it.
We had them go to ARC first for ARC's opinion, and then it'll go to the board for a final decision.
And doesn't have to, well, I guess it would depend on how big it is or something before Celebration Company would have to look at it.
Yeah, it's not large enough for Celebration.
All right.
Company to.
I wasn't sure exactly what they had in mind.
It's similar in size to the ones that are already there.
Oh.
It's just a lower pedestal.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
I didn't go to the last special event meeting. Sorry, Dory. Sorry, Debbie. Dory, when's the father-daughter dance? February? February 16th is the father-daughter dance at Lakeside. It's going to be Enchanted Evening. So that's coming up. We have Food Truck Friday, the second Friday of February. We also have in February the psychic mind person that's going to be at Celebration High School. And that's it. I'm sorry that I couldn't attend the meeting.
Also on Food Truck in February, there will be a CROA candidate tent.
Candidate tent. So I'm going to have company under the tent this time, right?
Hopefully.
Good. Awesome. Good. Oh, and service areas. I just want to say that Rose Vasquez is the manager of the service areas, and there's 15, and she was paid a very amazing compliment today from one of the residents from Academy Row, and I just want to call out about that because she really deserves it. She works hard to get those service areas in shape. But I only have one question. North Village, is that being addressed with the caulking?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And technology.
Technology.
Oh, technology. I missed the technology meeting. Bill Long, would you like to talk about what happened at the technology meeting? Come on. I did listen to it, and I did know that they talked about enhancing, Mike, I did listen to it.
Maybe,
All right,
could we maybe,
Go ahead.
maybe
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bill, go.
Maybe the 2 to 3 key takeaways just so we can.
The key takeaway is they discussed taking the charges away from Lakeside.
Two
Two of them.
Yeah.
Opening up some more spaces. They discussed talking about security enhancements, and that's why they're being invited to our executive session. And they talk about plugins that I learned about. And I'm learning a lot being on the technology committee, more than I ever knew. So Bill, one more thing, go for it.
I think we also talked about GoGo.
Go.
Yes.
Right.
So you covered it. Thank you.
Go.
Great job, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Charles?
I'll piggyback. So I'm going to go out of order with CDD just because the GoGo thing dovetailed in with CDD. So I couldn't go to the meeting yesterday, obviously because of the candidate forum, but went to the workshop last week with GoGo, and if they're on track for February, what is it, February 1st?
That was their
So the
soft go live.
soft go live. So we've basically we just went through kind of the process. We talked about the bug reporting and everything. I think they're working through just making sure that everything is mapped over from the CROA side. I don't know where we landed with the bug reporting. I know that's going to be something we need to monitor and make sure that we report out to residents how to report those because they own the GoGov relationship. We're just like kind of a part of the contract. We talked a lot about the communications for how we get that out to residents, where to go, how we're sunsetting, if we're sunsetting cell service, how all that works. So definitely need to stay on top of that and make sure that we have good campaigns in place so that folks know where to go.
Yeah, once we have the meeting with GoGov to finalize the CROA establishment, we'll have our communication campaign ready to go.
Okay.
And then we'll have the board decide when you want to do a firm cutover.
Okay.
Because cell service, I believe it ends in April.
we'll have that on our agenda, well, is it just
As soon
done?
as I can get it on your agenda, I will get it on your agenda.
Okay, great. That's all for CDD. I'll have an update on yesterday's meeting, next meeting. And then rec committee did not meet. I don't think they met in January, so I have nothing to report there.
A comment on recreation committee.
Sure.
Just a reminder, and I know it's hard to do because there's so much going on, to be sensitive to religious observance days. I noticed that there's an event on Valentine's Day, donuts and something or another. And that's also Ash Wednesday this year. So that may affect your attendance. I think not, because that's, if you're Catholic, then you're not supposed to be eating sweets then between meals and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, who would have thought? I mean, it's very early for Ash Wednesday. I wouldn't have even thought it. Just, I only know it because I was asked to be a reader at church on that day, so it clicked. But just whenever you're finding something, try to do. So, but anyway,
Were you directing a special event?
I think that's a Parks and Recreation event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's too late to do anything, but just reminder. Jared?
The dog park committee met on January 9th. They talked about where lots should be placed and give that direction to management, discussed vaccine requirements and how to track that. They're going to involve the technology committee to make sure that there's coordination there. Talks about signage and rules and regulations. They're going to be updating the rules and regulations next couple months. With regard to their resolution, they came up with a few key points that they'll bring it to this group at the next meeting to talk about the importance of the dog park committee. They discussed the Pups and Pints event, which went off successfully last weekend. Yeah. Brian Sanquist gave a maintenance update about some pricing for rock placement and water fountain that needs maintenance and the fertilizer issue. They believe they did find a substitute for the fertilizer that doesn't have the same active ingredient as Roundup. They're just waiting for the proposal to present to this board, which will be for the next meeting. Their next meeting is February 6th. There's no finance committee meeting in January. That meeting would be February 7th. Okay, 7th. There was no meetings with MADME that occurred in January. And then Master Plan Advisory Group, do you mind if I speak?
No, go for it.
They met on Tuesday, January 16th. They have been meeting in small subgroups up to this point. They met collectively on January 16th and established the overall goals that they're going to be setting and the solution sessions that will get them there. They're sorry, I'm just reading my notes here. There was concern about the timeline as it was originally established as timeline set for 7 months. There was discussion about the holidays in November and December, so it was left as come up with the timeline and then we can discuss that at this board level to see if we need to do anything. But initially, right now, there's a deadline of June 30th for completion of the group's efforts. So as they put things together and move along that, we'll hear more on that. Joe is going to be taking the lead on setting agendas and Alec will take the lead on running the meetings. So that was established. There will be another meeting next
January
Thursday, January 30th. That is open to the public, but not for public discussion, just for viewing. That's where they'll be establishing final things before a public meeting that is more of a workshop with feedback.
And it's going to be at Heritage Hall.
And that meeting will be at Heritage Hall. Survey information is hoped to be completed by January 31st, and that public meeting at Heritage Hall would be February 20th.
That's the input meeting.
Yes.
That the community will be able to discuss everything and anything they want, put in their laps and let them figure out where to put it.
Yes, and that will be heavily noticed.
Right.
I think the 20th meeting for February for the input is here in 104.
That meeting is here. The meeting next week is
Is
at
it Heritage because it conflicts with another meeting.
Yes, those are all of mine.
I have a question. So has this group at all determined that this building should be a priority, or is that are we gonna find out about that
That's what they are, that's what they're asking residents to decide. They're not deciding what the priorities, the public meetings will decide what the priorities are
For this building or for the amenity center or for both?
for celebration.
Wait, I think we got one of the amendments there saying no. Sharon?
Who is, Jim, please come up and correct anything I just said or say.
Yeah. One of the members is in construction, right? And he was gonna try and find an architect, or 3 architects to provide Grand Manor, like one, to do the scope. So that we can go out and get 3 bids as soon as possible.
For this bill.
For this bill.
Okay, good.
Because until we know what this costs, it's really hard to do master plan, knowing how much is gonna be left in the reserves.
Are you asking them for different scenarios? Like scenario 1, just repair, scenario 2, put an addition on, scenario 3, level it and start from scratch, or no?
Well, what we're gonna be asking first is what's
Just to restore.
where it should be. If we want to then go to the second level and say, okay, once that's done, we want to add a second, that's part of the committee's thought process as to what we can use the building for. And if the cost to fix it is excessive, then that would fit that decision and say, it's not there yet. But he should be getting the architects to them in the next, hopefully, week.
Yeah, it's supposed to be by this Friday.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim, for clarifying that.
Okay. I did see Kathleen walk in.
I think Kathleen emailed me. She is not feeling well,
Okay.
so she will give her recap in February.
Okay. You're off the hook, David. Wave and smile, wave and smile. Okay. And Charles, the PCDD next time? Foundation's done.
I just gave a CDD update.
That's
on the
right.
workshop.
By the way, I need to clarify, it is not GOGA, it is my celebration. So $5 in the capital expense jar.
Oh, say go-go?
Can't call it GOGA, it's my celebration.
My celebration FL.
My celebration FL. Yeah, my celebration FL, that's the branding, so we have to condition
Did we
ourselves.
talk about it in the technology meeting, Bill?
He called it GOGA when he got up.
GoGov is the vendor. My Celebration FL is how you find it in the App Store.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's like Cella Service is really from Excella.
We'll get there. My celebration FL.
Okay. Now we have the consent agenda. There's 3 items on there. And for people that maybe this is your first time joining us, consent agenda consists of items that require board approval, but really are either such a small amount or they're coming out of the reserve funds, and there's really usually no discussion that needs to happen. So would someone like to take a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay. Moving on to the other action items. The first one, A, is to approve the purchase of a 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500 truck, the maintenance department.
Motion to table the item.
Second.
Sorry, motion to table it.
Okay. Charles and Jared discuss.
Right, so in the packet, we've got a few different bids, or a few different quotes from the different dealerships. Can you walk through what is our current state? Trucks that we have, that is even the packet. What is our current inventory? Why are we putting these out? I know, and is it in a repair study or reserve study? What's kind of the lay of the land?
Your oldest truck is from 2011. It's up for replacement in the reserve study. You do have one truck that is constantly needing repairs, and you're getting to the point where the cost of repairs are getting to be more than the truck is worth. Additionally, you need a more reliable truck because we have to use the trucks to get out to Highland Village, not only for the maintenance team, but for the inspectors, and anytime Rose has to go out there because we can't drive the nets out there.
So this is not the oldest truck. It's the one that's giving you the most problem.
With their annual maintenance expense for the one that's up for replacement? Just going forward, we can, we can make an informed decision with some of these things. And it's understood in the reserve study, but I think we need to get information on that.
Is the budget amount the 36,000 that was in the reserve study for like 2024? And I see management's recommendation is to go with the really Chevy option, but there's a less expensive one.
It's because the extended bed is helpful for events and getting all the chairs and tents all around town.
So we have a motion on the table to table this. Charles, Jared, you still want to? I mean, what would I? Why? I guess.
I'm trying to understand the maintenance picture. So we're doing this monthly, quarterly, like what? I'm not saying that we don't need to replace it, but it was just, we need to buy a new truck with not a lot of context or justification.
So, I mean, it's ad hoc. We've recently had to replace the filters a couple of times last year. The transmission, it needs to be repaired. We recently in the maintenance text thread, the lights wouldn't turn off, so we had to do a hard reset on the computer. It's becoming to the point where we actually fix it so it's running well. It's going to cost more money than the truck is worth.
Are we selling the truck that we have?
Yeah, we'll trade it in.
Is that part of these figures?
No, it'll lower the cost.
I think we need those for sure.
I guess, yeah, Cindy, to your question, this isn't the accurate number then.
So it'll be less than what's being asked for, which is a lot less
scenario because they wouldn't give us a estimate on what they would take for the trade-in.
So it's not the 2011 truck that's getting traded, it's what year is the truck you're talking about?
Positive.
When does the 2011 come up?
The 2011 one is actually up for replacement, but it is your best operating truck.
So we're replacing one, but not both?
Correct.
Also?
Yeah.
Are we also buying power and replacing both at the same time?
It doesn't need to be replaced at this point. I wouldn't replace a truck that didn't need it.
I understand what you guys are saying, but if the truck is to the point where it needs to be traded in, and that will be less than what they're asking for, and the amount they're asking for is less than what's in the reserve study, I don't know why we would postpone it. If it was going to be more, I could see. But that's just my opinion. I'm just trying to, because now with the transmission, what happens? I mean, does it like quit on them every once in a while, or is it not usable right now? Or
It's usable. It's just very unreliable.
And I'm sorry, what year was this one again?
I just kept it running out.
That's, I guess, my concern with the promotion. I think this is a very big promotion right now. I think we need a little more
It's the
information.
2016 Chevy Colorado.
Obviously out of warranty, out of.
how much is transmission cost?
We just
That's
got-
expensive. It just got it? Oh, I thought it was failing. The transmission was failing.
No, it just got in.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm gonna leave my motion on the table just because I think this is a little bit more, at least from my perspective, a little more information to support the decision.
Yeah, me as well. I'm not against getting a new truck. We need to do it. This is just more information to make sure that all the things. I guess I'd also like to know how much is this actually costing, not a. How much? They won't tell you how much they'll.
I have to take it to every single dealership for them to do analysis, and they won't guarantee that number for the time that it takes to get that and then bring it to the board for a decision.
Yeah. No, that's understandable.
I mean, I think going ahead with Bailey and having that conversation with them to get final things is appropriate.
And I understand too, insurance will go with a newer truck too, right? So there's also that consideration. So I don't know. I'm gonna leave it on the table with the table.
Okay. You have a motion to table it?
You have a resident with their hand up if you want to recognize them.
Is it okay to say comment?
Well, I was asking if they would recognize it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, quick comment on selling the vehicle. You don't need to sell to dealership or do a lot less. You sell it online. There's many online sites. I use them. My son uses them. You get a lot more to dealership. So find out what dealership's going to give you the best price on buying. That's separate from what a dealer would pay you, because it will be less than we sell on your own online.
Especially now with all those things that are advertised, it's so easy.
Save a few steps in that.
You got a job cut for you.
Yeah. Is there still a question online?
No.
Oh, that was. Okay. So motion table, all in favor? Anybody opposed?
I'm opposed.
All right, thank you, David. So David is opposed.
Yeah, I heard the urgency from management. I think they provided the detail that was necessary.
Thank you. Okay, motion to approve the installation of additional playground mulch at Lakeside, Spring Lake, and East Village Playgrounds.
Second.
Discussion.
How much mulch is coming in?
So at the standard is 12 inches because once it compacts, it goes down to 9, and that meets those safety fall requirements around the height of the average playground. However, at all of the locations, it will be tapered down, so the high point will be in the center down to the barriers, because your barriers obviously are not 12 inches high, but we will still have that fall zone in the right depth requirement.
But it's still not gonna cover the roots that are coming out of it, right?
Yes,
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll meet there, Jeffrey. We have a date. Definitely.
This is not an acceleration. This is just normal.
We should be doing this regularly.
Oh, it definitely needs it. There's no mulch, I showed you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize. I just, Bill was talking to me. So this $14,000 is about half of what the first option was. So is that just adding to? And the
No.
28 would have been a full replacement. I apologize if that.
No, it's because we're grading it down to also not accommodate the need to raise the barrier around all of the playgrounds.
Oh, I see.
Brian,
That's what he's trying to tell me.
So you're not, at Lakeside, you're not mulching in between where the two light poles are,
No.
just where the playground.
We have a separate bid coming for sod there.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to say something?
Yeah, it's not on here, but this includes, Island Village.
Oh, there you are. I couldn't see you. Say that again, Brian. I'm sorry.
Sorry, it doesn't, it's not included in the sentence here, but it includes the Island Village playground as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says on, yeah, we have it.
But not on the agenda.
Yeah, it's not mentioned.
It's not on the agenda.
So,
Okay. Thanks for that.
It should be noted that if this was done routinely, there wouldn't be this expense all the time if it was just continually added to.
When it takes it, it's going to be added to your budget components.
Get in front of that.
Okay. All in favor? Anybody opposed? You're opposed, David? Or you're okay? You're okay? You're not okay.
All good. Yeah, I'll probably.
You are good.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the hand signals were.
Yeah. Okay, so it's unanimous on that. Motion to approve replacement repair of damaged natural sod at Spring Park Amphitheater and Magnolia Square. $2,000. That's
I'll
right.
motion for discussion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
My only discussion is I just wanted to make sure this is the damage that occurred with the truck.
So, yeah, this is the cheap, there's the
$70,000.
There's the $70,000 one, or there's the $2,000 one.
My question is, what's the difference?
So the $70,000, you're replacing almost all of the sod and doing some items. central bark doesn't need to be replaced. The sod is bouncing back and it will come back fully and be okay. So we don't need to touch that. Amphitheater, if you cut through the tracks and just replace the sod in the tracks, we're being told that it will bounce back as well. Same with Spring Park, and Magnolia is really almost bouncing back as well. The bigger issue with Spring Park is the vandalism, yeah, did damage to that park, but that sod needs to be completely replaced, regraded, and some irrigation issues addressed. A couple of years ago, we tried to do a patch fix and address some of the irrigation issues and the pitch with, I want to say Yellowstone, oh no, Ben New Leaf before they switched to Benchmark. It hasn't worked and it's just continuing to decline. So we're saying, let's patch it now, but let's look at really fixing that field through a proper process.
And that would include the laser leveling.
I know you're in the audience. I'm gonna just, no offense. Why wouldn't we go directly to a sod farm? Cut the middleman out to save us the cost. I'm trying to understand.
Put the sod
Yeah,
down.
they don't put it in.
Well, I'm curious why we haven't explored something like that or some other directly going to some other place.
So that would require our team renting the equipment to cut out the sod, pull it out, disposal of the sod, driving down to the sod farm.
There are no services that those, I'm just saying.
I mean,
That's
they
what
might,
Brian does.
they might deliver it to us.
I'm just trying to put this out because it's a costly expenditure. I just want to make sure we've explored kind of all of the different options. Obviously, if there's a reason to not do it, then that's.
It's 2009. It was 70 if we would replace all the sod. They're just patching. It's a deal.
Am I right? It's $2,000, correct?
Yeah.
Right here.
It may be less. We'll start with
Never mind.
smaller amount.
Never mind.
Ignore everything I just said.
Brian, is there gonna be, I know you're cutting out where the tires were, is it gonna be even?
We're gonna roll it afterwards, so we'll make it as even as possible, but as Lauren said, to begin with, the field's not even. Before the truck's not there, the field's not even.
Okay.
So it will be back to what it was before, as good quality.
Okay.
So nobody should trip on it.
And that was a big discussion back then when they were discussing. Here, blind spots. There, a lot of that was prepping the field, laser leveling it and getting it, the pitch right and all of that. That cost a lot.
Well, that project was one of the reasons why we tried to do a temporary fix of that field and just wait to see how that played out. And it was never revisited after that.
If you stand by the picnic tables and just look down that field, you can see it. I mean, it's that bad. You know, the pitch.
Yeah.
And then if you look to the side there, no mulch or anything or anything growth there because there's
Like
just so much
sand.
water. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so.
Thank you for detailing this bid with exactly which park it was for and the irrigation for each park. Even if there was no irrigation, you noted that, so thank you. I'll change my motion to a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And now we have Jerome's.
Audience question.
Are we gonna charge back the resident whose truck it was to pay off that bill?
Yeah, we don't know if it was a resident.
Yeah. And
You know
so
where
that's
the
what,
truck was, you know who owns it, right?
It's a VIN that's unregistered.
was it a temporary?
It was a temporary expired Georgia plate in the truck and it's a VIN that's unregistered in Florida. That's why it's sitting with the detective.
The person wreck, I saw it in the driveway. There was no way to know that actually.
It wasn't in a driveway, it was in a parking lot.
The other issue from a prosecutorial standpoint is there's no witness saying, yes, this is who was driving the truck at the time. So from a prosecutorial standpoint, it's very difficult to prove that the owner of the truck was actually driving the truck when the damage was caused. There are civil remedies that can be addressed once we find out who owns the truck. But yes, I believe the board is committed to to restitution in whatever form that we can achieve that.
You're welcome. Okay, all in favor? Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian. What do you do?
Used to
Motion to approve reimbursement agreement addendum with Brand Manners. Motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Discussion.
I would say this needs to be tabled because it references the service agreement. It was approved on December 12th, 2024. So given that error, this should be tabled.
Okay.
Will amend my motion to table.
So where are you looking? Jared,
Fourth paragraph.
the recital there, December 12th, that's what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Should have been 2023.
Oh, yep.
Would the motion be to approve this modification?
You can approve with modification.
Yeah, let's do that then, rather than holding it up. But
Motion to
thanks for
approve.
catching that.
Motion to approve this modification.
Second, Julia? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I'm opposed.
Voted. Jared is opposed. Okay, D. Motion to approve reimbursement agreement addendum. That was D. E, motion to approve vigilant services addendum for the new Spring Park Playground RFP. I have a motion.
Motion for discussion.
Second.
Discuss.
So it's my understanding that this addendum is just a time and materials addendum. There is no cap and no defined scope as to the cost of these additional services. Is that correct? I guess I'll ask that to the back.
Oh, sure. We'll go to the mic.
That is correct. I don't like that. I'll just say that. I don't like an open-ended contract at a $190 an hour rate for a non-capped expenditure.
Right. Okay.
Well, they're paying them.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Not coming out of our money. It's coming out of Brand Manners.
Okay.
This is what we're thinking.
Can we get a not to exceed?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, yes, Demetrius is now having the same. You're right, Celia, so.
No, hold on.
I'm just saying, I don't think.
Can we get a not to exceed number in that proposal?
We can get a lot. I think that, what we did was if we go back in time to December, whatever it was, in late December, that if you remember, we changed kind of where we wanted to go. The board had discussion that talked about, going to a kind of clean slate, as I could call it, and having Vigilant write the RFP, which wasn't part of our prior scope. We put forward an addendum simply to append our contract that was completely, re-wrangled to say, okay, now Vigilant will write the RFP. We knew at that time, however, that there was going to be some prerequisite actions that would very much shape the way that RFP would work. One of those was going to be that there was going to be a third party to come on in, do an inspection. So with the haste with which we were asked to write an addendum, and I think we performed pretty well. We created that addendum very quickly and submitted it. We didn't have an understanding of really what it could be. We are more than willing to tailor, cap, put a ROM on it. But remember, in December 29th or so of 2023, it was get it out. And that's the way that it does. It's just, okay, well, this is our time and expenses. If you want us to do the RFP, and we can, I think there's some small print in there that says, budgetary estimates are available upon something or other, but it was hasty. I understand why we're talking about Brand Manners is reimbursing this, correct? So this is just something that we took move forward with. That was my understanding. Brand Manners is just
We are.
what it costs.
We'll have some offline conversations about what just happened. But yeah, they're gonna affect you guys.
what it costs is what it costs, and we get this fixed.
So do we have to approve this or
And this
this
is not
should
a
have been
cost
on
of the
here?
association. This is right. This is a reimbursement agreement.
So is there a motion? A motion for discussion, a motion for approval.
Second,
I thought we weren't going to approve it because it's not ours.
We have to approve
You
it.
still need to approve
Oh,
the
They
contract.
are-
That's what I was,
The contract's with you, we're just
Okay.
reimbursing you.
okay. I'm sorry, who made the motion? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Good. Okay. Yeah, motion to approve the issuance of RFP as recommended by Vigilant Services.
Yeah, we discussed that. Yeah. Okay. Might I be allowed to just speak a little bit?
No. Darn, of course.
I mean, I ate all that food.
Yes, you
Okay.
did.
Well, I'll motion for discussion. There you go, yeah, some procedure. Okay, so we too are very and highly procedural. So I wasn't really aware that there was going to be an RFP that was fully flushed out, vetted, and sent out to the community for review. And the reason why is because until we just got that motion approved, we really didn't even have authorization to be here tonight. The way that we would have liked this to have happened is that the addendum, which authorizes us to do anything RFP, be signed, ratified, and approved. That then allows us to actually create an RFP. Before that, there's no guarantee legally that we can get paid or reimbursed or whatever it is. But because we understand, obviously, green banners and celebration to be on the level as we would put it, we did some minor effort, and I underscore the word minor. So this also will dovetail back into some comments that were made prior to our being here. The RFP that was sent out in a way that wasn't authorized. It wasn't ready for prime time. This is not the RFP that you are to approve. Please know. But it is a boilerplate. It does contain our general requirements. It does contain a lot of like the core language. But again, we're getting over our skis. We didn't have an understanding of any third-party reporting. We weren't allowed to do any work by virtue of our addendum not having been approved. We're now, only first now, a couple seconds ago, at a point where we can do intake and write a cogent RFP that will be ready.
We couldn't do anything because somebody didn't sign the right piece of paper.
Yeah, precisely.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you,
And
Eileen.
it's okay, but the thing is, we're you know how it is. We're not trying to be overly pedantic. At the same time, we are a vendor, we are a professional agency, we do receive payment, and without the right legal channels in place, things are great until they're not. And if things are not great, and you said, you know what? I don't like the cut of your jib and I don't want to pay you, and I don't have anything that says we should pay you, then we're really on the out. So just know that we are happy to serve. We're ready to serve, I think, in an excellent capacity now that we have been authorized to serve. So going back in time, there was some of the comment that was brought up relative to the RFP that references what seemed to be like our internal vigilance services agreement. The only thing that ever references a 1.2 multiplier on expenses is not an RFP or any boilerplate language in an RFP. It's our services agreement, our vigilance services agreement. And the reason why is because we're never an entity that should ever buy materials for a client. But if you force us to buy materials for you, yes, we'll do it, but we're going to mark it up by 20%. Okay. It's not a deterrent, but it's a deterrent. We're not that type of entity. But that should have been the only thing that made it out to the ether or other that could be referenced as why is there a 1.2% or 1.2 multiplier in the RFP? Because that's not in the language of the RFP. It's in our agreement. It's in our agreement, necessarily and appropriately so. Just want to make sure that we're clear. Gotcha. And I'm probably at the end of the dialogue, but I did want to make sure that it's known that, A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D. And we're now at A, but I know that it seems like D was accomplished and sent out for review. It's a little premature. Allow us to now do our job as we would, and we'll produce an RFP that is ready for prime time review and mass dialogue, and we'll answer questions on it.
So we had the workshop on December 29th, or the special meeting on December 29th. We are at January 24th. Why are we here at this point and having a quarter done RFP when we should be having something ready to go to market? I understand everything that you just said, but I'm going to direct it over here. where were the steps for us to get here earlier and get in front of this? There were talks about having a workshop, talks about having some other things. Why are we here today? And now where do we go?
So our understanding of the workshop was once you got your bidders back, was reviewing the equipment that was proposed from the bidders and having that discussion with the community, having the board interview the top however many candidates
Design.
and talk about design. And then that's part of the negotiation of the final agreement.
My understanding was we were going to have our RFP ready to go, prime time, in a month. That was the takeaway, right? You were going to take that, distill that down, have something ready to go. I'm confused why we're here and where the communication was with the board, because there was nothing. There was no communication with us from management, frankly.
I know.
That was not for us at all. No. And this may be board, we don't have a playground liaison. That could be part of the problem. I don't know, but clearly there's a disconnect somewhere in the communication. And right now we have something that we can't send to market. What do we need to do to get this moving, and how quickly do we need to get it moving? And
Didn't you just say a minute ago that you didn't have any authority to move forward until we just approved whatever? So that's what the holdup was.
okay, but why are we hearing about this now? I guess is my question. Why wasn't this?
How are we gonna approve this, through email? Would have had to been unanimous.
That would be the only comment I would have, is that, we rendered the addendum quickly and we send it forward through the approved channels. Some communities do vet that over email. But whatever your rules and regulations are, if it first comes to light at this meeting, then it's a chronological thing. It can only come to light at this meeting.
I'm surprised. I really am. I thought we were going to have something ready to go to market. That's the takeaway.
What's the timeline now? Now that we've gone through A, how do we get that? What's our favorite?
So, not prepared for that terribly, but somewhat prepared. I would say that because we're talking about design and because we now are imminently to receive, I believe, a report from a third party, it's all about what the report says, right? But let's give some hypotheticals. I would say that we should have an RFP that is 95% there, because we don't yet know what the third party said, by about the early part of February. So somewhere between
Next Thursday,
the
first.
We can't really do it the first. We just were told to do it now officially, right?
We were told to do it in December. That was what.
Yeah, but he couldn't because he didn't have.
We would, trust me, it gets us into a tough position. We want to serve you and we want to impress you, but we also can't get you can't get over our skis, because legally of what I said before. Right?
We should have had a meeting. We should have done all this. Anyway, nonetheless. All right. So,
but we've done this a couple times. So I would say that if you give us until February 7th, 8th, we have our core content vetted out into the RFP format that we have. And it depends, again, whatever the third party said, but it's under advisement, it's under counsel. When last we met, the board struck a new path, which was altogether, I think, a good path. We now are going to do blank slate type design. So although a third party coming in reporting as they are is consequential, by virtue of it being more blank slate than use this, not that, here, not there, we're probably better to get the RFP done quickly, right, than we would in other situations. But because we're talking about design, total life cycle, to answer your question, I would say is probably deeper into February, if not early March, because the vendors we're soliciting and pre-qualifying have in their wheelhouse to do design. In the past, they took all requirements from us and priced them. Now we're asking them to design and price. And that's a little bit more out of the vendor, and not many vendors are going to be able to turn that around quickly. And that's okay, because we did all of this and we're delaying all of our progress for risk reduction and safety, right? If we didn't want to do this right or slowly with risk reduction and safety in mind, we would have probably motioned an approval of that one vendor that was willing to take on more risk when we were last assembled in December. But now at this stage in the game, long answer to a short question, I think that, we'll be getting our bids in March. Early March, middle March is when we get our bids. And by the time you're womb to tomb and cutting a ribbon on the playground, you're talking about mid-May, thereabouts, once you go through all procedural hoops and permits and challenges.
Painful message, yes, but I got to be honest with you. We've done this a lot. It's not going to be any sooner than that unless we really start to cut out scope or reduce certain, what I would say are design considerations. The only good news is, not the only good news, but good news is that you don't have an enormous playground. It's not going to take a ton of design time, but we just have to make sure that they're allowed the necessary time to do their job.
Wanted the community input on the design, not the design drawings, but what they would like to see at the playground. Because when we approved Spring Park, we looked at the drawings and yes, we approved it, and we approved Long Meadow, but do we really look at the Long Meadow equipment and say, I'm just as booked, I looked at those drawings and that thing that the kids bounce up and down on, we have to make sure the equipment that goes there is for the kids, all ages. Not that a mom has to worry about, well, my kid's only 3, so we can't go over there, and my kid can go over there. We have to make sure the equipment is safe for all ages.
So
we want the community's feedback in that.
all right, so let's comparatively, we started this endeavor, in September last time, right, to do this. We put it out to market in November, so those 4 months, right, about 4 months. You can do this in how many, a week, you say? So we have to get this back into like an actual market-ready RFP. When can you actually have this ready to go, camera-ready in market?
Well, like I said, if you use the existing equipment, this is where we could really, again, bifurcate. If you use the existing equipment that you originally wanted to use, albeit installed incorrectly, we can go to market with this RFP in mid-February. If we are to form committees and get input from the team, I mean, it's really up to the team. It could go as long as deliberations and committee style take. And we're just a pen in your hand. We really don't have a dog in the hunt. We only charge when we work. So if it took a year and we only work 2 hours, we're only charging you for 2 hours worth of time. It's inbox, outbox. So whatever we get from our client, we're going to process through our Vigilant Services engine and give you an outbox item. So that one's a tough one to answer. It's you guys have to actually come to consensus, if not unanimity, on whether or not you want to use existing or go in a completely new direction with the community's input telling you what equipment you want.
If I'm not mistaken, the playground in East Village is a tot lot, which to me says it's just for little people, right? So maybe that design, if the space is adequate, maybe the design includes a tot lot section and then other equipment for older kids. And I'm just throwing that out there.
Right. And like I said, it's requirements driven.
And how many different kinds of apparatuses are there to have community input? I mean, it's swings, it's a slide, it's a jungle gym, it's a climbing wall now maybe these days.
Believe it or not, it's innumerable. My recommendation in council would be that the board be in charge of requirements and the vendors who design be in charge of options. There can be iterative sessions between vendors who design and board who decides of, well, here's what you said. You said for the tot lot that you want it to be basically a age 2 to age 5 playground. That's a requirement. You could start there. You give it over to the vendors, they give you all these options that are in the approved category of equipment for 2 to 5-year-olds. They give you a couple options. You have space for 4. If you like this, you have space for 5. And then you say, I like that. Done. I mean, this is how we do it in other communities. And then you say, oh, well, Long Meadow, that's a playground for 6 to 12. And it's this big. Then the vendor who does this for a living comes back and says, okay, well, in our catalog, these are the 6 to 12 things and apparati. Here's what you can decide from. That would be the way to do it through expertise. The way to do it through preference is to form, and trust me, I'm not saying you guys don't know what you're doing. But if you get folks who don't do playground for a living into a conversation about playground for a living, you're never going to get off the launch pad. I'm just telling you right now. So my recommendation to the board, if I'm allowed, is to say requirements from board, vendors for options, board for selection, vigilant for give me it in this format of cost. That's usually how we work.
I like it.
When we met on December 29th, we went into that meeting thinking we were approving a 2-week review of a contract to get 360 where they were going to get.
Correct.
And then a 6-week project timeline. So like an 8-week, maybe 10-week, maybe 12-week overall timeline. Is that an option?
Yes, it's still what you, for Long Meadow, yes.
No, they're talking about spring.
Spring Park. Well,
I mean, the answer to that is actually yes. It would just mean that the board would have to go back on what it said in December for that particular. It's still an option.
Which, yeah. And I guess that's what I would, that we consider at the board, because we have a timeline and we have a vendor that is ready to go on that. With
Talking about those 360 people?
Yeah.
No.
Before we move forward, Charles, you said that the length of time and why we're here. At our meeting on the 29th, you all voted to scrap the playground process as we were moving and asked for Vigilant to provide a draft RFP. They were given 2 weeks to draft that RFP. That RFP was circulated on January 9th. And there was a lot of discussion back and forth between community members and the board about which direction we should go in or which direction we shouldn't. So that's why we're here, because there's been a robust conversation about what should be done, because there was a lot of questions about the RFP, about pricing and whether what was being caveated is more important than the other. So there has been quite a bit of communication on this amongst everyone. But again, adding to what Mark said, that they were given 2 weeks to provide the RFP, which they provided on January 9th.
Cindy, I'm not accusatory. I'm just asking why
Well,
that's not.
But here's the thing. The reason I voted to start from scratch was because of the safety issue. They said that if somebody else comes in and repairs that stuff or uses that stuff and something happens down the road, no, they're not going to want to take responsibility for it.
I agree.
So why would we?
Because the 2 weeks, I think what may have been missed there was part of the 2-week negotiation was to get them to agree to that, right? Can we get 360 to agree that everything they installed would be safe and they would confirm that everything was working and safe complete?
Oh, no, that was yes on arrival. I mean, by virtue of them responding as they did, they accepted the liability. There were some vendors, if we remember from meeting notice, that said like, we don't want to be there.
Yeah, stop you there. So yes, they will accept liability and everything will be safe with this new playground that they would install.
Jared, I can say that the safety walk with Diane O'Neill that we
On the
had
18th.
she told Jeff that large piece in there is salvageable, is good, is in a right spot. The other pieces need to be readjusted and moved based on their locations. But she did say that as a cost saving, she would recommend saving that piece because it can be hand graded.
and this is in Spring Park.
For Spring Park,
The one big piece.
So
the big piece.
my optics on this are we can be done with these playgrounds before we even start with this other option.
Yeah.
And so I will say, I'm going to motion to reject this thing because, I mean, you're agreeing, we should reject it. The current RFP that's in our packet. So I'll amend my motion to reject this RFP. We can close out this topic with that and then continue this conversation if anyone's interested.
The only quandary of terms is draft. Like it was a draft RFP.
Yes.
So you would never, I mean,
we should not be voting on this is what you're saying. So we have to because it's here. Right. So this is just the formality of.
Yeah, it's we're hearing.
Is there a second to Jared's motion?
Second.
Jared and Bill.
So we're rejecting it for a real RFP.
Yes.
This is just a
Not
template.
this is like a mock-up.
The template.
It was a
Right.
self-evidently hastily
And to
delivered thing
Jeffrey's
because we
point-
weren't really sure if we were going to get paid to do it.
And to Jeffrey's point, there was a lot of commenting back and forth between us on, wait, I thought this and wait, I thought that. And then we had resident input, copying people. So this has been an ongoing conversation. This isn't just them saying, oh, we didn't do anything.
I didn't see the RFP
No.
on January 9th. I'm just saying,
We
you sent that out to the board on January 9th.
we had a whole discussion back and forth.
First time I saw this RFP was when you published the board packet.
I think this
There
is.
was
a whole-
conversation like, wait,
We didn't vote yet, did we?
No, they're,
I think so.
In fact, I recall you said the RFP would be available in the board packet, as I recall.
checking.
I think a rough draft was sent. That's what he just said. You guys wanted two designs for the park.
But did you send that to us? Because you're saying you did.
I don't know if
On that point, and I do want to be clear on this, I appreciate everything Jeffrey and Lauren are doing. This contract is with us for that purpose, so this board needs to be copied on things.
wait, there was an email that was sent on Tuesday, January 9th.
The playground upgrade.
Like,
There was not an RFP.
wait, you asked, when do we expect to be presented with the
RFP.
RFP?
100%.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to look at.
It was also the same discussion where we were talking about the sequencing of the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember you asking that, Charles.
January 18th.
Follow the question. No.
It was Jared and Bill. Jared, do you want to please restate the motion?
Motion to reject the RFP as recommended by Vigilant Services.
And Bill, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I have one comment going forward.
Please.
That Lauren, depending on what we get from the safety expert, that we can use as much of the equipment as we've already paid for. As we have, as we know, there's a substantial amount of money's already been spent on equipment.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the only vendor that you saw really willing to take that piece on was 360.
it was telling by their vendor response.
But we're gonna get more in different vendors now, correct?
Just for the record too, we can sell equipment too, correct? There's a market for potentially sell. So can we just talk about that? Or do we, we don't know yet, but.
So just in general dialogue on that, it's like selling, if you will, a used baby car seat. Sure. There's a market and you write off your liability. You have to really, say, hey, we take no responsibility for it being out of date with whatever the latest car baby seat guidelines are. And people will buy it either to melt it and scrap it, or they'll do whatever they want. I mean, it's on them at that point, and you can recoup a little bit of costs. And I'll stop there.
I can't motion to have any discussion on, or have an action on 360. Can I, with that being?
It's not on the agenda, so technically no.
Are we able, I'm sorry, go on.
I was just saying, I'm happy to move ahead. You said you could have something, the actual RFP done in 2 weeks?
In early February. We do want to, if possible, we do want to be afforded copies of the reports that are being written about the loss and everything like that, because we view that as critical.
We have preliminary report. Can you send that to him? I know we don't have the official report, so we have a preliminary report. I think
Did you find the RFP?
What do I have? That was just my recap. Your recap. Forward that to him. It's unofficial, but forward it to him so he can be in the.
Actually, if we could, because we're so procedural, let's wait till it's official. I mean, I know we're in a rush, true, but let's just, if we could, I'll wait for an official copy just to have it be official.
We know when it's coming.
Can we get a recap of which direction you want us to go?
Yeah.
Scrapping everything and rebuilding with two designs, or rebuilding, like, we need some direction of where we're going.
Yes.
Scrapping everything and rebuilding. That's what we discussed.
That's in December. And we're a pen in your hand, we'll do whatever you want to do.
And it's not changed.
Right, okay, good, very good.
We come, Mike, is a question.
My wife is kicking me and saying, no.
Ed, you also guided us during that meeting.
That night or whatever it was, yeah. And I sent you a note afterwards too. I think what you want to do is issue an RFP that gives the bidders the opportunity to either do a greenfield and scrap everything, and that number is 195,000, or what can you incorporate into the project and save some money? And they can bid either way, or they can bid both ways. And then you can look, you get the full look at it. Why would you sit here tonight and decide that we just want to go with the greenfield and scrap $195,000? Okay, I'm on the finance committee. I've got to help to protect the capital here. So I think that's the thing to do. That's the way you ought to do it. And remember, we had 360. We had one bidder at that meeting. There was another bidder that was not responsive, basically. And that's all we had, a field of one. And that one was dicey. You have how many bidders now?
I wouldn't say they were dicey. They installed the Island Village playgrounds.
What word do you want to use?
They didn't repair the Island Village playground though.
No, but
okay, set that aside. We had a project and we stopped. We backed up to go back to the market. And now how many vendors are we going to have?
we don't know.
We don't know.
Let's guess based on the research that's been done. How many vendors are we going to have?
We've contacted 11 and they've
11.
been interested.
How many are interested?
With scrap.
11 with the scrap
With
idea.
full scrap idea.
Let's put it out there both ways. But you got 11 people coming, so you're going to be set up for an RFP that's going to get a lot of response. If it only gets 50% of the response, you're going to tie. Go through the process, but leave it both ways. Don't just arbitrarily decide you can't use it. You've got the study now. They say that you can incorporate it.
That was their commentary. We don't have a final report.
So you get the final report. If that's there, then put it out both ways. And what do you got to lose? You'll be able to look at a complete picture.
Thanks, Mike.
Very logical.
And that report is gonna say these swings are, this jungle gym is fine. This is maybe not so much, blah, 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 blah. So they will have that information, what they could incorporate it if they should choose to.
Yes, it was more about the placement of the equipment that was currently installed. That was the issue.
And they would have to know, I guess, the manufacturer too.
Which they have all the manufacturer, they have all that information, but it was, and
And
she
the
did say
RFP
she
would
was honest. She did say she was very surprised we were able to get one contractor to come in and complete, because typically they do not like to go.
So being $195,000 into this, do you have a rough order of magnitude what these two playgrounds scrapped would if we scrap, when that would cost?
No, I don't. That's a tough one. Because it also has to do with when we first came into the project, because things were already quasi-built, you assume certain things of land grading and drainage and other things. When you scrap and you start from scratch, this is just our process, we want to go from all layers up. We want to make sure that there's adequate drainage. We want to make sure there's adequate compacture, the softscape, the hardscape, whatever you put on it. So it's multi-layered. But it's not altogether bad to do that. It's just we're trying to be very transparent. It's lengthier, but it's really womb to tomb, soup to nuts, super well designed and safe. I mean, so if you graph safety on the X and time on the Y, I mean, that's how you're basically moving the sliders. But we want to make sure that we always let you know that we'll do whatever you want. There is a bit of counsel. I want to make sure there's a delineation between vendor accepting liability and playground being safe, right? So there's nothing wrong with ABC, by the way. Or ABC. 360. Sorry, we deal with so many. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. They are willing to accept the liability, right? But certification from an authorized entity at the end of the project will really determine, from an industry and other standpoint, safety. Big difference, right? So 100% that you'll get 100% safe from the get-go if you go with scrapping greenfield. You will have liability reduction if you go with use as is, and we have to somehow massage the in-between, right? Because we don't want to be so procedural that we just give you whatever you think you want. We're also counselors. We're trying to counsel. So again, our personal opinion is you should go with greenfield because so many hands have been in the project. We would look to cannibalize and reuse that which is cannibalizable and reusable. We would look to sell and do other with things that cannot. And that would afford you the highest degree of safety. We would be willing to put a cap on our services because typically our services are commensurate with the, like the scope, meaning like as the scope grows in cost, so too do we. That's just how we work. But because this is sensitive and we don't want to see you spend money like crazy, we'd be willing to cap it out. So if you had $1 million playground, it's not the greatest day for vigilant because we would only get whatever we say we're capped. But we don't think it's going to be $1 million playground. But in closing, I think you were going in a great direction in December. And it's not that 360 was bad, but it allows you to 100% sleep at night knowing that you're getting the safety, the equipment, the placement Celebration deserves, right? And that's all.
So I just have one more thing before you move forward. You talked about the agreement, right? You have a boilerplate legal contract.
As vigilant,
something that you can bring to an association, something to potentially borrow from as we build our terms and conditions. You said you would provide that to us.
You signed it.
I mean, I'm talking about within the RFP, something that would go in the RFP from a terms and conditions perspective. You said that you have something like
the general requirements.
Did you provide that to us?
Yeah.
Has that gone to Slayton? Has anyone reviewed that? That was.
No, we didn't.
It's in the RFP. Like the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 pages of the RFP are general requirements.
I'm talking about the terms of the actual services agreement that would be signed and executed. That was the.
That's different. Okay, so the actual agreement has not been. No, so the actual agreement has not been submitted to you. And the reason we didn't do that is because, all we are is people who pull tools from the tool belt, right? At a certain degree of cost, we might recommend you go with an A104. But until we understand what the cost is going to be, we can't say you're going to use an A104 agreement or an A101 agreement. You're never going to use an A101. These are all just industry terms for the American Institute of Architects suite of agreement types. We just want to select the right tool for the job. But I can give you at any time, at the drop of a hat,
my impression
an A104.
After the workshop, or the meeting that you were going to furnish us something that we could then bring to Slayton and see if it met our risk tolerance, et cetera, and something we could potentially incorporate into.
Right.
It didn't have in the RFP at all. So
No. And I'm sorry if we misinterpreted general requirements for terms and conditions. I apologize. And the reason maybe we misinterpreted is because normally the association board dispositions the T's and C's vetting to the attorney.
Correct.
So we would want, and we can give it to you like tonight, an A104 draft. But we also would recommend that you involve your attorney in just looking at the A104 and making sure it meets muster from a legal standpoint. But by the way, these are boilerplated contracts. They've been tried and true for decades. But that's what we didn't do, and I apologize. Yeah.
And they're mostly already filled in.
Yeah, but there are some
It's just
spaces.
a fill in the blank things mostly.
A lot of fill in the blank, and I want to make sure that's clear. Or we can use one of Vigilant Services titration agreements that are really, really small. But again, we wanted to see, well, what is the cost of design, integration, procurement? Because once you get to a certain higher level of cost, you almost want to introduce an A104 or a 105 to give you added protections. But that's what you're employing us to do, is to just draw the right tool from the belt that we know how to draw. But let's take the action to just send over to Grand Manners an A104. And I can do that like tonight.
We send that to Slayton.
Sometimes they'll have their own addendum or wording.
Our contract is I know that. Ours is much more specific to us. That's a catalog template.
Right. Correct. And we usually customize that off of the input from the attorney. But I'm very particular about contract language being contract language that is upheld. A lot of attorneys will just say, that looks great. Now stick this addendum on it. That's our attorney addendum that supersedes everything. And I don't like that. I would rather we
We're gonna
incorporate
do that for some of our payment terms and conditions.
Right. No, we want to adopt the things that are valuable. What we don't like internally as Vigilant, and this may or may not pertain to Celebration, is seeing redundancies. Like the attorney's addendum says basically the exact same thing as the contract that it's superseding. That's lazy. We like the language of our agreements. We think they serve a good purpose. We will always adopt the things that are very specific to Celebration. But again, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. That's just general dialogue we have with the attorney.
We were assuming you were going to provide it. What Slayton wants to do with it is his decision as counsel. That was the takeaway.
And we have no rebuttal to that. When the attorney says do this, we're basically like, yes, we will do that. But so bottom line, A104 comes your way, and that'll happen tonight.
Lauren, would you do me a favor? Would you would you state what the plan is now? Because you folks are going to be the ones that are following up on it for us. So I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with, so we're going to wait until we get the official statement from
the thing, the A104 tonight.
Right, that's what, yeah.
It'll go to the board.
And Tom's later.
They will finalize their ready for market RFP. It will be sent directly to the board and CCing management for board to comment in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I believe is what I understood.
We get the report, or
I think so.
and which direction?
And we are doing a go to market with a greenfield versus a salvage what you can option based on Diane's report.
For both playgrounds or one?
Just the one.
No,
because
I just wanted her to state. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna give him all this information. Do we need to, now we're looking at the end of February to approve again. Another month's gonna go by. Can we have?
As soon as you guys see the RFP, just let us know if you have questions or comments. You can go straight back to.
Yeah, can we just get a timeline of like, if we need to get together, have a special meeting, which
Absolutely.
don't want to have, but if we need to take some action as a board, can we please just get in front of that?
So
And communicate with us.
I'm supplying Chad and Mark with your guys's group collective so they can email you the documents directly.
Was that RFP sent to us?
No, it was
not sent to us.
We received a message that sent out.
You did not send it to the board.
With the board packet. We did not send it on.
You're correct. I'm sorry.
It's not a matter of being correct.
No, it's
I'm
good.
scared of being
Yeah,
correct.
but.
And again, that's why now we're all on the same page. So we should not have to go through this again.
But we did have a conversation. I think that's where I was getting confused.
So moving on, are we done with this? Now that we all know where we're going?
Should we vote?
No, there's nothing to vote on. We just discussed and we rejected this and now they understand what their marching orders are now. Right?
Yes.
And then they're going from there. Yes.
For tentative
Uh,
meetings.
No.
Don't build a shitty playground.
Right.
Okay. I think the biggest thing for me that I'm concerned about this is number one, this is a playground. This is not complicated in the grand scheme of things. I also think that while it's great that the board is working with Vigilant, the board should be working with management. And management should be using whoever the heck they want to figure out how to build a darn playground.
I'll say we tried that 3 times and it got us to where we are now.
I get it, but figure this out. And this is not. This is really frustrating.
And we feel your pain here, and I'm not being facetious.
I think I would like us to set a date here collectively.
There's too much work. We have too many questions at this point.
I
Too many
know,
questions. We need to
but
get,
at
you have the direction.
Yeah.
Let's just get this mobilized.
And we'll just keep.
And if we need a meeting.
Yeah.
If we need.
Jeffrey's going to keep updating us like he does, and then when it's time to pull the trigger, okay, we should have this in.
And then we're scrambling around trying to figure out who can meet and when can meet. And
we're still, yeah. We don't know what's going to happen. If we set it for 3 weeks from now, we don't know what's going to happen between now and 3 weeks from now.
We would hope something would happen.
No, I mean, in our lives or travel for business or.
I mean, Grand Manor is reimbursing. So I mean, this is running up your tab at the end of the day too. So I assume you'd want to get in front of this and try to wrap this up in an effective way. So we're just.
So we all have our everybody has their marching orders. We're good. It's already 10 till. We're going to go over. So, collection account payment plan requests. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We have a motion. Second. All in favor? Any questions? I did have one quick question. Does it, I know that there's not a payment amount here, not that it matters to me because I'm not paying it. But when they do these payment plans, do they include the?
Lori is walking her take care of all the paperwork and everything.
No, but do they? This payment plan includes what they will be owing during the period of the plan?
Yes.
Or they will make, they'll monitor, okay, that's all I wanted to know. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Clients listing, we got a new one when we sat down today.
Motion to approve.
Oh, yeah, motion to approve. Jared and Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, S9 conversion,
Are there any?
yes.
Oh, yes, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Management update.
From HR standpoint, we made 2 offers for maintenance techs, 1 offer for porter, so we still have 1 maintenance tech position open, and 1 porter position open. For community standards, from December 16th to the 19th, we've had 177 initial inspections, 468 re-inspections. Canoa's 29 initial inspections and 10 re-inspections. We've had 38 pre-sales, 20 ARC inspections post the project, and 25 complete inspections. A lot of these inspections were done between January 1st and January 19th because we typically do not do inspections in December.
I'm just gonna stop there. Are you just pretty much encapsulating what we already have in our board packet?
I'm just going over some highlights.
Okay.
But for time, if you want to.
What do you guys think? Should we pass over that since it's all in our packet?
I'm fine with
Okay.
that. One thing I do want to let you know about Pups and Pints.
Yes.
Was very beneficial for the community. I think we brought in almost $7,200 in
Yay,
gross sales.
that's the kind of stuff we're looking for. Perfect. Thanks, Jeffrey. Sorry.
I have a couple of questions, so on your management report
Sure.
that you send out. When you send out the management report, is there any way you can you send it out weekly? Is there any way you can put, instead of repeating certain things, that it's in progress or it's completed? You had mentioned that the maintenance team met to discuss issues at with Prince and Son throughout the passive parks and active parks. Do they have any explanation as well as to why the grass is dead as you're going into Lakeside on the right?
We do.
Okay.
Not a very good one, which is why we're having these vendor walks. Well,
Okay.
I will say not all of their fault because the nativity set was there, and it was there for a good month. So obviously that's going to kill the
The
sod.
whole thing
But
is dead.
But it's not explaining the entire area, but part of it, yes. But we are having vendor walks, and we actually have another one with Prince and Sons tomorrow, and we fully expect to probably be in front of the board in February with a suggestion to
Okay.
make a change.
Also, you had your meetings with the compliance manager and discussed inspections. I know I'm not the board liaison for covenants, but since July, because I go to all the meetings, we discussed having the covenant committee, the entire committee, sit down and have a workshop with the inspectors, so the inspectors know what the committee is looking for when they're presented with all these violations and how to find the residents. So
She's referring to the meeting that you scheduled with just 2 of the members of the covenants committee and not everybody.
well, I've been talking about it since July and asking about it, and
It's been scheduled though.
it's scheduled with the entire, is it a workshop with the
No, this is,
committee and the inspector?
no, this is an in-field training. We're going to be visiting 2 or 3 homes in the community with 2 of the members of the covenants committee to point out where some areas that there have been some deficiencies. This is not a workshop for both sides to meet and discuss.
But
we are planning to schedule that in February.
So-
A meeting with the
Entire committee.
and the inspector.
Okay,
It's 2 different things.
okay, just want to make sure that.
We've been doing ongoing training with them since December.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good.
Also, let's see, you got, I had it. Okay, like every week you put down the men's, and I love this report, but it's just like repetitive, deep clean Lakeside, Heritage, and North Village bathrooms. The men's rooms and bathrooms were deep cleaned. Which ones? Like, and you guys are out there doing it. I see it, but is it done? Is it still in progress? Are they working on it? Like,
Some of the items are just things that they do weekly.
okay.
We're just giving an update, but we can absolutely make that.
So do you want those left off then, the routine things that are just part of their normal?
Or complete, in progress?
Well, but they do them every week. So either you want them on the report every
day
week
they
or.
clean the bathrooms. Once a week, they do a deep clean.
Okay, got it.
That could go into a separite category then, so we
Yeah.
don't see that as something.
A weekly
We know
task.
that happens. but
Right.
Yeah.
And new lifeguard signs were installed where? We don't have lifeguards.
It's the signs that say
No
lifeguards. Some of them were faded, some of them were.
So I haven't, because Lakeside's my obsession, because I'm there all the time. That white lifeguard chair has a broken lifeguard sign. It's the chain is just hanging off. And the chair, like, if we don't have a lifeguard, why is that chair still there?
That they use for the meets.
Swim meets.
They have it there? Okay, so maybe that lifeguard sign, all right. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get, you're sending this and it's good, but why are we painting the bathrooms at Lakeside?
Spot paint,
Spot
touch-up.
paint? Okay.
Like today, when you walk in, there's a huge scuff mark on the right-hand side to the men's bathroom you walk in. So it's just those touch-up things.
Okay, and there was graffiti at North Village?
Yes.
So did that have to be reported to the sheriff or?
We didn't get feedback on that one. I sent an email to the board, like it's sidewalk chalk.
Oh, okay.
His plan.
Okay.
His plan.
I just want
It's not, I mean, the sheriff's gonna come out here and say, why are you calling me for this? As much as he says, yes, call me, but I mean, it's sidewalk chalk. It just needs to be pressure washed off.
Oh, and quickly, this is important, Field 2 project. That's the
The
soccer
field,
field.
yeah.
I don't know if any other residents ever go on the dashboard, but I can't figure out what the heck that says when I want an update on the field.
The project that's going on now is part of the annual maintenance. It's part of the contractual price that you pay to Prince and Sons.
Right.
That's different than the CCFC project. The RFP is being finalized and we should have it back from the engineer next week and it should be ready to go out to bid. We
are repairing the drainage.
Repairing the drainage, redoing everything. The plan was never to start breaking ground until after this season for soccer because otherwise we would severely impact the soccer program. We're still going to impact the soccer program with this project, but we're trying to minimize the impact.
Okay, and there was one more question I had. You toured the Parkview townhomes, noted fencing surrounding parks in need of pressure washing. Which, is that the
It bumps up against the golf course, so we had to ask the golf course.
against the what? Golf course.
The golf course, it's that thickest fence, so we had to ask them to.
In Parkview, in Artist?
It's the Artisan Park fence around their field.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, so we sent an email to Bill.
I just want so I know, if you're sending it, I just want to know what all these things are, but thank you.
Are we just jumping around the management update or I'm trying to.
Those
We were gonna move on.
are all questions that she had about the update or the weekly one or
The
the
only thing,
management one.
yeah, just real quick, the training videos on the governing documents. Can we see those? Because there's in the Monday Matters about the 2 campaign signs, which was wrong. There are 3 that are allowed, so I want to make sure the training is accurate.
Are there 3 allowed?
Yes.
Yes.
The Exhibit C training hadn't been issued.
The what? I'm
The
sorry.
Exhibit C training hadn't been issued, and that's where that mainly is.
Okay. It may still be good just to look at these and make
Yeah,
sure
we
it's,
can.
I don't know what.
They're very high level overviews for the staff. They're 5-minute quick videos about each section.
Okay.
And then the staff is required to read the section after they watch the video.
Okay. It may be that I just don't, we just did them and spot check them.
Okay.
That's all.
Fitness center issues.
So Celia asked me this to be on, but I can give kind of a recap of some of the common issues that we see in the fitness center issues. We've had a lot of issues with trainers being in the gyms, and our park monitors are having to ask them to leave.
So they're just hanging out hoping for business?
No, they have actual clients that are in there. So, I mean, it's kind of the issue that we have with other pros on the tennis courts with residents bringing in somebody else. But it's just an additional liability in the gym because of the equipment.
Well, how do we stop that?
I mean, the only thing to do is to pass a resolution to not allow trainers in the gyms, period. The other thing that we're seeing is an increase in teen utilization, and some of those teens, quite a few of them, are using their parents' ID to get into the gym and when they are approached by the park and rec monitors, they don't have their own ID and they're not of age to, when we look them up in the system, they're not of age to be in the gym.
So we were kind of talking about this. I mentioned to everybody that there is a resolution that was in place when we first got ID cards, and it lists all the conditions and how it can be revoked. That probably needs to be updated because we didn't have gyms back then. So that should be updated to include gyms, and the revoking, can't be given if your kid, especially if they're underage, if they're of age, they should have their own ID. And you shouldn't have to be giving them yours. I mean, I think that.
So that begs a larger question, because for many, many years, you haven't revoked access to amenity centers for residents that are in collections, which is part of that policy as well.
Supposed to shut them
If you're going to enforce part of that policy, we need to enforce it all. So that's kind of a larger conversation that you'll need to have.
Well, I don't know why that stopped.
It wasn't in place.
Well, I know. It's just been something else that fell through the cracks over the years. So that should be. Everybody understand what she's saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you went into collection, you're cut off.
So when a parent, a mom and a dad signed a waiver for the gym, and the mom is letting their child use the gym, there's no waiver signed for that child, correct?
Correct.
Because I think, and I don't want to compare the two, but that was a discussion at the dog park meeting.
Yes.
If you have somebody that has a dog and now they're getting a puppy, well, they already have access into the dog park. They can bring that puppy in now. Who's gonna, I mean, you can't be in 100 places at one time, but we have to let the community know that you can't let your child in if there's not a waiver signed for the child.
Will Gallagher give us any enhancements or anything along those lines as we look all that out?
For the vaccinations and the dogs.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But not for the child.
Not for the.
Well, you can technically, so you can put on the card reader, parent, child. They'll have their own unique IDs, but they're paired to the parent.
Is the other thing is when you strike your card, it'll also take a picture of the person striking the card. So if the card strike doesn't match the picture of the person, then we would have a capture of that. But it requires manpower to review all that footage.
You get an email with this is an error.
It's a notification that you'll receive.
Yeah.
Every time somebody hits the strike.
Okay. Well, that will help.
So how do you, I was reading through this information that you sent. So if I'm a 16-year-old person and I have my ID card and somebody comes in and they question, maybe I look 14. Is there anything on their card that says that they have signed this waiver? That their parents?
No, I mean, if they have access to the gym with their ID card, then they've signed the waiver.
Okay. So what I was thinking when I was reading this is maybe once the waiver is signed, you put a sticker, like you do for when you change the years on the ID cards. If you put a sticker on that card that says, so if somebody questions it.
Well, you're not getting into the gym unless you signed a waiver.
It's automatic in the software.
It's when you come in and sign a waiver, then we turn on your gym access. For a standard resident that comes in to get their ID card, You don't
No, I
automatically
understand
get
that,
gym access.
but if you can't, the gym, there's,
They wouldn't get in without a waiver. I wouldn't turn on the gym.
oh, even
access
for the kids.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
So, excuse me, but it's 16-year-olds get their own cards, right? And 15 and 14, if they're in the gym, have to be with a parent.
Yes.
So the waiver has to be signed by the 16-year-old.
Correct.
Yeah.
Here, yeah.
So,
Yeah, but who's gonna monitor it, Jim?
what's that?
Who's gonna monitor it? If the parent gives their child, I'm gonna give you
That's why
my,
we need the new software.
well, yeah, but still.
Because again, you can't open the gym 24/7 without the new software.
People are gonna follow other people in.
That's what the park monitors are for. They can go in and check every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, there was a kid that accessed the Spring Lake gym last weekend or the weekend before with their parents' ID, and the park monitor asked them to leave after she checked all of the other residents' IDs. Because he did not show his ID either.
I'm sorry. More?
Just so the board's aware, Streetlights Residential that built the amenity center out in Island Village is really pushing for that to be open 24/7. So just they're chomping at the bit. And I mean, in the, in the deed transfer, it is in there that we are supposed to have the gym open 24/7.
What's gonna happen to us if we don't?
There are quite a few options. Tom's writing you your options for response if you don't want to open it 24/7. There's some new case law that could work in your favor.
Open it irresponsibly.
Yes, and that's
And we were forced to take things at certain times.
agreed. I just want to bring it to your attention that they are.
That was the celebration company that that wasn't CROA that.
No, yeah, TCC mandated that we take over that after many, many discussions with them.
And another thing that is brought up in the community about why the Island Village pool isn't heated. So we didn't build that pool. Streetlights built it.
Correct.
We had no control over them and what they did when they were building it. It's their property, it's their build, so it's not our fault here or management that pool isn't heated, correct?
So my understanding, no, it's not CROA's responsibility because Streetlights built it. They did inquire what CROA would like or what systems CROA uses, like for security cameras and keys card systems. And there was discussion at the tail end of CCMC and when Grand Manor started between Patrick and Streetlights, and I think Susanna and Streetlights, and they were discussing making the pool ready for geothermal heating. But Streetlights was adamant that they weren't going to install geothermal heating. They would just make sure that it was compatible with it. Is it? I believe so, yeah, based on the documentation we received.
Where are we with the Mattamy? I know we have Mattamy liaisons, Jared and I. Do we have anything?
We don't really have anything right now. We're waiting for them to start to give us their new plat for phase 2. And then we'll need to have some discussions in terms of turnover times because there's the amenity center, there's some open green spaces, and it's not clear who's going to be responsible for what.
Our last meeting with them, though, we did discuss this new amenity center in the pool there. So now is the time, and they said they were 20% done with DD drawings. So we should now be talking with them about if we want that pool to be heated, to be discussing that.
Good idea.
Yeah, we need to get.
We missed it last time, but we're at the point right now to make it.
They're not going to build it heated.
Well, we can have the conversation and have them tell us that to our faces.
Set up a meeting.
It's good to just have ongoing discussions with them too, just so we can build a relationship. Have a relationship or what have you.
Anything else on Fitness Center Island Village?
No.
Okay. Management Company Action Plan.
This was, somebody asked for this to be on the agenda.
Yep.
Well, it was in regards to the other.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That was a quick discussion. Master Plan Advisory Group, is there any more to say than what we've said?
I feel like we covered it.
Okay.
But I feel like we didn't give management any kind of direction with the whole thing with the fitness center.
Like, I mean, we can draft up resolutions and send them to the board for commentary in terms of addressing the issues that we're seeing, but they're just issues that are becoming more and more frequent.
Right.
Needed to be brought to your attention and to the community's attention.
I would like to suggest that we do review that policy on ID cards. And then also, make it known that, when you go to the community, that this has been in place, but, if we're going to start enforcing it, especially with the non-payment of assessments.
Can we go back to the master or management company action plan? Can we agree to have maybe a workshop in February just to talk through that, where we are? Because it's hard to cram any discussion in when we're already over. Just to get a pulse check, see where we are.
You want to do your February workshop, which is the second Wednesday in February?
I think that would be good, but I'll do all things.
Wednesday in February is the 7th.
Are we having an executive?
Or schedule something just to, if we need to.
Schedule it.
Yeah. The second Wednesday in February is the 14th.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah. So never mind.
I don't know how your work would feel about that.
I'll send out a poll for you guys.
Okay, your Valentine's.
Oh.
I think it would be better to have 2 hours of conversation around that versus cramming it into.
I'll get some dates from Stacy too.
No.
Oh, that's good.
We'll flex them.
Okay.
So get their dates and then we'll.
That's good, February 14th.
Yeah, just so we have it calendared and ready to go.
Just think, maybe we may have some information on the playground then too.
I don't know if I'm available.
Maybe.
Aren't some of you folks coming for the meet and greet?
February 8th, yeah.
Is that too early?
So that would be good for me.
To have a workshop
While they're here?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
Sooner the better.
What day?
it would be February 8th. It would have to be,
It depends what time they get in.
You can get in whenever we need to get in.
so the candidate meet
Something's
and greet
going
is
on.
at 6.
It's the meet and greet.
Yeah,
What time is that?
it's at 6. So if you had a meeting before then at like 4 or 5.
4:30?
Let's be ready to report out on how we're doing and.
Stacy will be here. I'll be here. Yeah. So we'll both be here.
We're cutting out February 14th.
Yeah, so the 8th at 4, I'll send you an invite.
They'll be here. Where are you going to be? You going to be here?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I don't have all my dates here.
Check
But
with Merrill? Okay.
I keep thinking of something sketchy that day.
Yeah, it's Valentine's.
And last but not least, Jared, what do you want to say about emails?
It's my understanding that, well, legally, grandmanners.com emails are not discoverable and not public record. And we're back and forth between sometimes staff uses their town hall email, sometimes they use their Grand Manners email. I think it should be a policy that all communications between the board and residents to staff is on their town hall email.
I was confused about that.
Yeah.
Why are there 2 email? Well, corporate, just for your corporate
It's our
communications,
corporate
right?
communications, and then we all have town hall email addresses for our Teams account and Microsoft 365 accounts. Some of you email us on our town hall and some of you email us on our Grand Manners. Previously, I'll be honest with you, before Jim got on the board and you, Jared and Charles, most of the board emailed straight to our Grand Manners account and didn't email the @town hall, but it became more of a practice to email the @town hall account.
Because of the legal and disclosure qualities of the email, the different email addresses, I think it's a best practice to just use town hall emails. We don't have access to any conversations you have with anyone on a grandmanners.com email. And nobody does anywhere. So I think that we need to just make it a practice that there's no communication with residents or board members or committee members that are not on a CROA owned domain.
Would that be a resolution we would pass or?
Right, your people. I mean, it's practice, common practice for us. It's not a big.
It's going to be we're gonna need to not email you there as well. It's just whatever you type in your phone. I get that. So we have to, it's gonna take, this is not gonna happen tomorrow.
We're gonna have to change business cards too.
Well, it should have never been that way really, but as a practice, I think that's something we need to do.
So what are we emailing to, so the town hall?
To the
email?
town hall one instead of Grand Manners. Yeah, I've got two, they pop up, I just pick whatever one pops up first.
Right. I mean, I do the same thing too. I've stopped doing that, but we need to not do that at all.
Choose the one with the colored dot.
The colored dot.
The colored dot. It should be yellow, red, or green.
Up to you. There you go. Okay. I'm gonna ask, but I hope everybody says no. Anybody have anything else they want to discuss?
I'll leave his motion to adjourn if anybody wants to participate in.
Oh, great. Jared motions to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? Good night, everybody. Thank you. Right there.
Yes, Miss Jennifer. Thank you.
You guys.
And granular.com is discoverable with a minor score. Well, minor. That's all my guy says. You provide that, we'll give you anything you want.